A young man is on his knees, begging to eat the same slop he's feeding to pigs. His designer clothes are now rags. His father's fortune completely gone. Son of a wealthy man. How is this possible? Don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now, because every week we uncover powerful Bible stories that reveal hidden truths about life, love, and human nature that will absolutely blow your mind. Don't scroll away, because what happens next defies every rule of human nature. In ancient times, in a land where the sun-kissed golden hills and olive trees swayed in warm breezes, there lived a very wealthy man. He wasn't just rich in money, he owned vast fields, countless livestock, a magnificent estate, and commanded dozens of loyal servants. But more precious than all his earthly treasures, he possessed something truly priceless: 2 sons. The older son was everything a father could hope for. Day after day, he worked tirelessly alongside his father, managing the estate, caring for the animals, overseeing the harvest. His hands were calloused from honest work, his character solid as stone. He was dependable, responsible, the heir any father would be proud of. But the younger son was different. His eyes constantly wandered beyond the familiar boundaries of home. While his brothers saw responsibility, he saw restriction. While others saw a loving father's provision, he saw a cage. His heart burned with restless dreams of adventure, freedom, and the intoxicating unknown. One fateful morning, as the household stirred to life and servants began their daily routines, the younger son made a decision that would shatter his family forever. With bold steps but a trembling heart, he approached his father. "Father," his voice rang out, cutting through the peaceful morning air like a sword. "I want my inheritance, not when you die. I don't want to wait for tomorrow, next year, or decades from now. Give me my share of your wealth today, because I'm leaving. I want to go far away and live my own life on my own terms." Can you imagine the silence that followed? The words hung in the air like a death sentence. In that culture, asking for your inheritance early was essentially saying, "Father, I wish you were dead." It was the ultimate rejection, the deepest possible wound a son could inflict. The father stood motionless, his face a canvas of indescribable pain. This was the child he had held as a baby, taught to walk, comforted through nightmares, celebrated through achievements. This was the son he had dreamed would carry on the family legacy. And now that same son was rejecting everything: the family, the love, the heritage, the father himself. But here's what makes this father extraordinary. He didn't explode in anger. He didn't guilt-trip his son. He didn't threaten or manipulate. With a heart breaking but hands steady, he divided his wealth and gave the younger son exactly what he demanded. The older brother watched from a distance, arms crossed, jaw clenched. "He's making the biggest mistake of his life," he muttered. "He'll regret this." The younger son packed quickly, his hands shaking with excitement and fear. As he walked away from the only home he'd ever known, he didn't look back, not even once. The road stretched before him like a promise of endless possibilities. "Finally," he whispered to himself as his father's house disappeared behind the hills. "Now I can do anything I want. No rules, no lectures, no boring responsibilities. I'm free." Days turned into weeks as he journeyed to a distant country, a place that pulsed with excitement, blazed with neon lights, and promised pleasure at every corner. With pockets full of gold, he became the most popular man in town. He bought the finest clothes, ate at the most expensive restaurants, and threw parties that became legendary. People flocked to him like moths to a flame. "You're amazing," they told him. "You're the most generous person we've ever met." Beautiful companions hung on his every word. Musicians played his favorite songs. Everyone wanted to be his friend. Night after night, the party continued. No one told him when to wake up, what to eat, or how to spend his time. He thought this was happiness. He thought this was the good life. He thought he had found paradise. But paradise built on gold has a dangerous foundation. One morning, hungover and disoriented, he reached for his money bag to pay for another night of celebration. His fingers searched desperately through the empty leather pouch. He turned it upside down and shook it. Nothing. Not a single coin. Not even a worthless copper piece. He had spent it all. Panic shot through his body like ice water. "This can't be happening," he whispered. He searched his room frantically, under the bed, in his clothes, everywhere. But the truth was undeniable. He was completely broke. With desperate hope, he sought out his party friends. "Hey, I'm going through a rough patch," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Can you help me out? Just for a few days?" But their laughter was cold and mocking. "No money, no party," they sneered. "We don't hang out with broke losers." One by one, they turned their backs and walked away. These people who had claimed to love him, who had sworn eternal friendship, vanished like smoke in the wind. Suddenly, he was alone. Completely, devastatingly alone. The fancy clothes felt heavy on his shoulders. The expensive shoes pinched his feet. The lavish lifestyle that had seemed so glamorous now felt like a cruel joke. He had traded his father's unconditional love for the conditional friendship of strangers, and lost both. But his nightmare was just beginning. A severe famine struck the land like a divine punishment. Rivers dried up. Crops withered. The sky turned brass, refusing to release even a drop of rain. Food became scarce, then rare, then nearly impossible to find. People who had lived in comfort suddenly faced starvation. The young man searched desperately for work, any work. He knocked on doors, begged in the streets, offered to do anything for a meal. Finally, someone took pity on him and gave him a job. Feeding pigs. In Jewish culture, this was the ultimate humiliation. Pigs were considered unclean animals, forbidden to eat or even touch. Yet here he was, the son of a wealthy man, standing knee-deep in mud and filth, pouring slop into troughs for squealing, grunting swine. The pigs ate better than he did. Day after day, he watched them devour their meal while his own stomach cramped with unbearable hunger. He became so desperate that he actually considered eating the pig food, carob pods, grain scraps, anything to ease the gnawing emptiness inside. But no one gave him anything. Not even leftovers. Not even scraps. One night, as he sat in the mud surrounded by snoring pigs, staring up at stars he could barely see through his tears, something miraculous happened. A memory surfaced from the depths of his despair. He remembered his father's house. He remembered the warmth of fresh bread emerging from the ovens. He remembered the servants sitting around the table, laughing and sharing stories after a good day's work. He remembered how even the lowest-ranking worker in his father's house had food, clothing, shelter, and dignity. "What am I doing here?" he whispered to himself, his voice cracking with emotion. "I'm starving to death, and my father's servants live better than kings compared to this. They have warm beds, full stomachs, and meaningful work." And then, like lightning illuminating a dark sky, the solution became clear. "I'll go back home," he said, his heart pounding with hope and terror. "I'll say to my father, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But please take me back as one of your servants.'" That night, something inside him died. His pride, his selfishness, his foolish dreams of independence. But something else was born: humility, repentance, and desperate hope. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of redemption, he stood up from the mud, wiped the tears from his eyes, and took his first step toward home. The journey was brutal. Mile after mile, day after day, his bare feet bled on the rocky roads. His torn clothes offered little protection from the scorching sun during the day or the bitter cold at night. His thin body, weakened by months of starvation, screamed in protest with every step. But he kept walking. He walked through doubt. What if Father slams the door in my face? He walked through shame. What if the servants laugh at me? He walked through fear. What if I'm too late? What if Father has disowned me forever? But he also walked with hope, fragile, flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, love could survive even the worst betrayal. He practiced his speech over and over. Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Please make me one of your hired servants. The words became his prayer, his mantra, his lifeline. But here's what the son didn't know. Every single day since he had left, his father had walked to the edge of his property and stared down that dusty road. Every morning, every evening, sometimes in the heat of midday, the old man would stand there, hand shading his eyes, heart breaking with hope. The servants had stopped asking why. They knew. Love doesn't give up. Love doesn't forget. Love keeps watching even when watching hurts. Maybe today, the father would whisper, maybe today my son will come home. On this particular day, as the father stood at his usual post, he saw something that made his heart leap. A figure was walking down the road, limping, stumbling, but unmistakably familiar. It's him, the father gasped, his hands trembling. It's my son. He didn't wait to see if the figure would actually come to the house. He didn't pause to consider his dignity or what the neighbors might think. He didn't stop to prepare a speech or plan his response. He ran. Picture this. A wealthy, dignified patriarch, the most respected man in the region, hiking up his robes and sprinting down a dusty road like a man possessed. His servants stared in shock. His neighbors pointed and whispered. But he didn't care about anything except reaching his son. The younger son saw someone running toward him and panicked. Was it a soldier? An angry creditor? Then he recognized the face, the gait, the unmistakable love in those eyes. It was his father. Before he could speak, before he could deliver his carefully rehearsed speech, his father crashed into him with the force of a tidal wave. Strong arms wrapped around his frail body. Warm lips kissed his dirty, tear-stained face again and again. My son, the father cried, his voice breaking with joy. My son, you're alive. You're home. The young man tried to speak. Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy. But his father wasn't listening to condemnation. He was too busy celebrating restoration. Servants, he shouted with a voice that carried across the entire estate. Come quickly. Bring the best robe, my own ceremonial robe, and put it on him. Bring the family ring and put it on his finger. Bring sandals for his feet. The servants rushed to obey, their faces mirroring their master's joy. They had loved this boy too, had mourned his absence, had prayed for his return. And kill the fattened calf, the father continued, his voice growing louder with excitement. Prepare a feast. Light every lamp. Call the musicians. We're going to celebrate like never before. As the sun set, the house transformed into a palace of joy. Every room blazed with light. Music filled the air, drums, flutes, harps, and the most beautiful sound of all, laughter. The aroma of roasted meat, fresh bread, and sweet wine created a sensory symphony of celebration. The younger son, now dressed in royal robes with a golden ring glinting on his finger, sat at the place of honor. People who had known him since childhood wept with joy. Servants who had searched for him when he first disappeared now danced around his chair. But the most beautiful sight was his father's face, radiant with pure, unfiltered happiness. He was dead, the father kept saying to anyone who would listen, and now he's alive. He was lost and now he's found. But while joy exploded inside the house, a very different scene was unfolding outside. The older brother was returning from a long, hard day in the fields. As he approached the house, he heard music, laughter, and celebration. Confused, he grabbed a young servant. "What's all this commotion?" he demanded. The servant's face lit up. "Your brother has come home. Your father has killed the fattened calf and thrown a huge party because he got him back safe and sound." The older brother's face turned to stone. His hands clenched into fists. His jaw locked with rage. "My brother?" he hissed. "That selfish, wasteful, disrespectful son who brought shame on our family name? And father is throwing him a party?" He refused to go inside. He stood in the darkness, seething with resentment, while joy poured out of every window of his father's house. When the father learned that his older son was outside, he immediately left the celebration. He found him standing alone under a tree, arms crossed, face turned away in anger. "My son," the father said gently, "please come inside. Your brother is home. We're celebrating." But the older son exploded, "Listen. All these years I've been slaving for you. I never disobeyed your orders. I never caused you embarrassment or heartache. I worked when he partied. I stayed when he left. I honored you when he dishonored you. And yet you never even gave me a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends." His voice grew bitter. "But when this son of yours, who squandered your property with prostitutes, comes crawling back, you kill the fattened calf for him." The father's heart broke again, this time for his older son. "My dear son," he said, "you have always been with me and everything I have is yours. You've never been a slave here, you've been a son. My love for you has never wavered. My provision for you has never stopped. You are my heir, my partner, my joy." He paused, tears flowing freely. "But we had to celebrate. We had to rejoice. Your brother was dead, and now he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found." And here's where Jesus ended the story, with no resolution. We never learn whether the older brother went inside or stayed outside. We never discover if he chose forgiveness or bitterness. We never find out if the family was fully reunited or permanently divided. Why did Jesus leave it unfinished? Because he was speaking to two groups of people that day. Some were younger sons, tax collectors, prostitutes, sinners who had wandered far from God but were now desperate to come home. Others were older brothers, religious leaders who had stayed close to religion but had hearts full of judgment and pride. The story was for both. And it's for us today. This isn't just a story about family drama. It's a revelation of the heart of God. God is the Father who watches and waits. Even when we reject Him, even when we waste His gifts, even when we break His heart, He never stops looking down that road, hoping for our return. God is the Father who runs. When we take even one step toward Him, He doesn't make us crawl or beg or prove ourselves. He runs to us with joy, covering the distance between our sin and His love. God is the Father who restores. He doesn't just forgive, He celebrates. He doesn't just pardon, He throws a party. He doesn't give us what we deserve, He gives us what love desires to give. But God is also the Father who pleads with older brothers. He comes outside to those of us who serve faithfully but with hard hearts. He reminds us that His love isn't earned by good behavior, it's given because we're His children. Some of you watching this are younger sons. You've wandered far from God, made choices you regret, wasted opportunities and relationships. You're sitting in your own pig pen, thinking you're too dirty, too damaged, too far gone for God to want you back. But I have news for you. The Father is still watching that road. He's still waiting. He's still ready to run toward you the moment you take one step in his direction. You don't have to clean up your life first. You don't have to prove you've changed. You don't have to earn your way back. Just come. Just turn around. Just take that first step and watch him run to meet you. Others of you are older brothers. You've been faithful, obedient, good. But somewhere along the way, your service became duty instead of joy. You've grown resentful of God's grace toward others. You think salvation should be earned, that forgiveness should be limited, that some people don't deserve God's love. But God is coming outside to talk to you too. He's reminding you that his love for you has never been based on your performance. Everything he has is already yours. His grace toward others doesn't diminish his love for you. It reveals the depth of the love you've always had. The truth is, we're all both sons. We've all been the younger brother, rebellious, selfish, wasteful of God's gifts. And we've all been the older brother, prideful, resentful, focused on what we deserve rather than what we've received. But God's response is the same to both. Come inside. You belong here. You're loved here. There's a place at my table for you. This story isn't just about ancient Palestine. It's about you, right now, today. Whether you're far from God or close to God, whether you're broken by sin or broken by pride, whether you're running away or standing still, God is extending the same invitation. Come home. So here's my question for you. Which son are you today? Are you the one who needs to turn around and start walking home? Or are you the one who needs to lay down your pride and walk through the door? The Father is waiting for both. The celebration is ready for both. The love is available for both. The question isn't whether you're worthy. None of us are. The question is whether you'll accept the love that makes you worthy. Will you come inside? If this story has touched your heart, don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs to know that it's never too late to come home. Maybe it's someone who's wandered far and thinks they're beyond forgiveness. Maybe it's someone who's served faithfully but forgotten what grace feels like. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that reveal the incredible heart of God, stories that have the power to transform lives, heal relationships, and restore hope. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a message that could change everything. And remember, no matter how far you've gone, no matter how long you've been away, no matter how much you've messed up, the Father is still watching that road. He's still waiting. He's still ready to run. Your story isn't over. Your mistakes don't define you. Your past doesn't disqualify you. You are loved. You are wanted. You are welcome home. The celebration is waiting for you. And if you think this story of forgiveness is powerful, wait until you hear about the time Jesus himself faced the ultimate rejection and responded with the ultimate love. That story changed the world forever, and it's coming next week. You won't want to miss it. The Father is waiting. The question is, will you come home?